Today we're going to walk through how to create a Figma component with multiple variants into any code base you want using AutoHTML. Today we're using Qwik. Let's get right into the video. So again, this is more of a copy-paste job. You just need to understand what you're doing and why you're doing it. And then you breeze through this. The next thing you know, what you saw in Figma is now what you have in your code base and your drag and drop editor for your marketing team, your design team, your engineering team, your product team, everybody. It's really awesome. It's one way to move extremely fast, which is a huge requirement for any company, really. So we are going to copy the starter code. Then we're going to talk about how to configure AutoHTML. We're going to do some edits on the TypeScript that gets spit out. We're going to add custom inputs as needed, so you'll see how I work through this logic. We're going to tweak the HTML elements that are being rendered, so you'll see me work through that. And we're going to learn more about server components, client components, how that plays together, especially with Qwik. And I know Next is coming out with their server components, so this applies there too. Then we're going to tweak the CSS styles that AutoHTML gives us. We're using our own unique hue theming system, and all that will come together with the great component you just saw. Let's get right into it. All right, so I'm going to copy this starter code. And I have the finished product here, but we're going to walk through how to create it. So we're going to call this the link card props. So this is an interface. We're saying that we're expecting this property and it's of type any. We copy that into the first argument of the component function from Qwik. And that just gives us an idea of what props we're going to use. Most commonly, we'll actually be using attributes, because that's how we're going to get the class. The class is important because it allows us to change the style of the entire component through the builder editor. And the rest of that is going to be used for the custom inputs that you define in the builder registry. Okay, and we can see that's actually how it's used here. I'll get rid of this starter class right there. Let's get rid of this ... Next, let's name this the link card, and we have our starter code. I'm going to save that. So this line is used for custom editable regions, which we'll not cover in this video. And then what we're going to do is get the basic structure set up for registering a component. So we're saying that it's the link card, yeah. The name is a link card. By the way, if this is red, what you'll want to do is just click the quick fix option that autocomplete gives you. Next, we have no wrap, which is true. This is how we set up the components. And can have children is true. And then the inputs is going to be an array that we define. Let's just put a comma here so it doesn't complain. Okay. So now when we register this, we'll have the ability to drag and drop a blank component. So let's go here to our builder editor, grab the link card. You see it's visible. And when I paste it, well, there's no options in the options tab, and there's nothing here, as we expect, but at least we could drag and drop it. Okay, what's the next step? Configure AutoHTML for Figma component variants. There's a specific way to get this done, because what's cool about AutoHTML, go to Figma. Here's the component we're going after right here. We're going to click the purple outline. This is the component set made by the design team. So you want to have a design team for this workflow to work. Next, you want to go to the settings of AutoHTML. You want to turn off nested components, turn on TypeScript, turn on rem, base size 16, and then turn off SVG as image. To get the component code, we need to go into Pro mode. I'm going to refresh the selection, and that gives us this. So this is an idea of what we're going to get. The preview doesn't give us the options for how to set everything up, but I'll show you how to start copying and pasting. That's the goal with this. If you just know what HTML does in general, what CSS does in general, then all you have to do is start copying and pasting all this output, and you have a done component. Copy the TypeScript interface. So if you recall, actually, we have our interface here, But now if I go to Figma, it gives us this interface. We don't want the export, so I'm going to just grab this. And I'm going to paste this here, and we're going to merge this. So we don't need class name. I'll get rid of that. And we'll cut all of that. Semicolons. Paste. I'm just going to highlight this whole thing. Format the selection. I don't like having 4 spaces. Let's indent using spaces, but only 2. Format the selection once more. Great. So we'll delete that, and that's the first step done. What's next? Set up the builder registry custom inputs to map to the TypeScript interface. So excluding this, we need a link subtitle, which is a string, a show subtitle, which is a Boolean, a link title, which is a string, and then image locked pinned, which is an enum, which is a string, an array of strings. Now you're probably wondering, why can't we just convert this to a Boolean? Well, if we look at this, there's specific logic to get all of this to work, and this is just how AutoHTML works, so we're going to run with it. And the goal isn't really to create a custom component, it's to have a repeatable workflow. That's the goal. I'm going to just copy this all. I'm going to go to the builder registry. It's in inputs. I'm going to paste this, and I'm just going to comment this out so it doesn't error. Okay, so the basic format for inputs is, let's just peek at that. Okay, name and type. That's pretty much it. So the name, we have link subtitle, and then the type is string, and it should all be strings. So if you want more information on all the different options that you have, and we will be going through that actually, I'm going to get that set up with this link right here, custom input list type. And you'll get everything that you need to look for here. Just Control F and find what you're looking for. So we have link subtitle, show subtitle, Boolean is the name. Let's go for the next one. Link title is a string, image. So you could just search that link that I just showed you, but how this works is image, type is string, and then what you want to do is say enum, which is an array, and you want to say the 2 values, which is yes, yes, and no. And that's how we set that up, and it looks like it's the exact same thing for the next 2. I'll just do that now, which is locked and pinned. And we're done. Save that. And if we go to Builder, we will see now that all of these things are set up right there. Okay, nothing's going to work though, because if we go to the link card, there's nothing here and nothing that uses it. So the next step is to customize the inputs as needed. For example, missing component input for image file URLs. So if I look at the Figma, we'll see that it gave us all of that, but there's more. There's like this favicon here that's missing. There's this image that's a placeholder that's missing. And everything else looks static. So those are the only 2 dynamic things. Registry. I'm going to add so the name is image source, let's call it. The type is file. Required, sure. Allowed file types as an array, and these are the default ones. Next, let's grab the favicon. And I'm just going to add an extra file type called ICO, which is a common favicon name. I'm going to save that. We should see new fields appear for us to configure. Boom. Now what's great too is that all these things can be dynamically bound, which is how we're using it for our app, and it's coming straight from our backend. Next, we are going to copy the HTML elements to render in Qwik. Then we'll copy the CSS styles to Qwik as well. So I'm going to minimize this to make it easy to copy and paste, just like that. We're going to go to our VS Code, go to the file, and I'm going to actually stick it right in there. I'm going to go to the CSS file, and we're going to copy everything except for the first 2 styles we don't need. Copy that, go into VS Code. We're going to go to the styles constant variable at the bottom here. Paste that. What's next? What is up, you guys? I hope you're enjoying the video. If you're looking to level up your tech stack, enabling Builder.io with Qwik, or making your Figma components drag and drop into any tech stack, you're looking to break into tech, become data-driven, data-guided, whatever you need, do me a favor, go into the description, find my Instagram, send me a DM, I'll take care of you. Let's get back to the video. Tweak the variant class names from AutoHTML. So that's actually right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this whole thing. What's important is the link and the variant class names. Wherever this is used in the code, which in our case is just the wrapper or the container element, we'll need to do this very specific fix. So, whoops. I'm going to do a template string, use this guy, which helps us style the component in Builder. Then the first is link, which is the main class, and we saw that from the style sheet too, actually. And then next is all of these enums. How it's actually working, if we go to the CSS, we can see it in action. We're going to keep scrolling until we see a comment that was auto-generated, variant styles. You'll see it. Locked, no. Image, yes. Locked, no. Image, no. So it's automatically generating the class name depending on the enum selected. So to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to take this, we're going to say image dash, which is what it was in the CSS, create a variable and do props dot image. And we're going to do the same thing for the other two enums, which is locked, locked, and then pinned. And that's it. That's how we get that fix working anywhere that it says variant class names from AutoHTML that gets generated. Next, we'll replace the class names with class. You can see this error is everywhere. I'm actually going to get rid of this class name, and I'm expecting another div. So I'm going to shrink that and get rid of this extra div, and it should fix everything. Yeah. I'm just going to format the selection again. We can do Command F or Control F, replacing class name with class. And we just want to double check all of where it's used. Sweet. And we're going to press this button to replace all of it. So this is specifically for Qwik, which is a fix that we're doing. And that's done. What's next? For example, we missed this step. So if we go back to we added the custom inputs. So to see where they're used, if I just Control F source, we can start to see where it's being used. So there's 4 of them. I'm going to replace this with the props.favicon, which again, this is just the name of the custom input. And you can see that is missing from the link card props. Let's go next. Source, once again, we have the favicon. Props.favicon. Next, and there's only 2. That's my other code. So then I'm going to add favicon, which is going to be a string, because it's coming as a URL from Builder. Next, there was the image that was there, and that comes right here, image yes, and we could see that it's actually a background image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to search for the word background, just to make sure I get everything. All right, we're going to convert this to a template string. And then this URL, we're going to change to props.image source, which was the name of the custom input that has the file URL. I'm going to copy this, and we're just going to search if there's any other backgrounds that we missed. No, it's just this one. Perfect. Go back up here. This is going to be called image source. Perfect. All right, what's next? Replace camel case attributes of elements to snake case where needed, and use autocomplete to guide you. Here we go. This is an example inside of the SVG. I think it's because it's React. That's how React is doing it. Okay, I think that fixed everything. Replace AutoHTML HTML prop names with props.propName. So for example, image, here it's called image, but since we're using builder.io, it's a custom input and it's stored in props. So, and we also didn't copy the specific code that destructured this. So what we're going to do is, and just to show you what that is, if I go here, you can see that they destructured right here. They destructured the variables, so it's just the variable name, and then they did the remaining props. Now we'll just do props.image. And we're just gonna work through all of these. Okay, so if I save this, we're gonna start to get a decent workable version here. So link subtitle, show the subtitle, link title, and we could see that this is starting to work. Look at that. Is there an image? Yes. Is it locked? No. Is it pinned? Yes. Let's choose a favicon. Give it a refresh. And there we go. Look at that. Separate the client side from the server side. Okay. So you kind of saw that there was a timestamp. Here's what's challenging with Qwik. Qwik, by default, will render everything in the server, which is cool. Saves a lot of time for the end user. Things load really fast. Now, when you think about it, the server is actually getting the timestamp there, and then the component then just lands right into the browser, and you're going to get the timestamp from the time zone, which could be different than the user. So if the server is in Indiana and I'm in Toronto, you're going to get a different timestamp, or maybe that's the same time zone. I don't really know. So to fix that, we're going to do a couple things. We're going to create a new signal. So signal is a reactive way to store data. So whenever the signal value changes, it'll tell Qwik that if you're tracking this, you can re-render your component, which is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to call useTask, which is the Qwik hook, which allows us to track anything, and we're tracking time pinned. And then there's this other hook called useOnDocument, where we specify the browser event. So DOM content loaded is the most basic one. We're using a QRL, so that would need to be imported, and I'll show you where. Inside of the QRL, which is a $, and then just an open close bracket. Then it's an anonymous function. And then we're just going to check if the props time pinned, which actually we're missing. So we just looked through we added the favicon and the image source, but what we're missing is the time pinned, which we're going to say is a string. And again, if you go to the custom input, there is an option for date. So I'm just going to add time pinned. In the docs, we see that there's a date, and the default value will do new date. Let's save that. Here we go, time pinned. Let's just replace this with props.time pinned. Perfect. Now again, time pinned.value, which is how you access the value in a signal. We're going to set that to a new date using props.time pinned. So Builder is storing the UTC time, and it's up to us to use this type of code to render the time on the client side. So that's what the specific logic is doing. So let's start copying and pasting all this stuff. Well, actually, let's save this, and we'll show you what it looks like in Builder. So pinned now has a where is it? It's the date, time pinned. The date option gives Builder the option to do this. We'll just say tomorrow at 12 a.m. And there it is. Okay, so the formatting is kind of crazy right now. So time pinned, we actually want to use the value that we are about to create. So let's just grab that starter code. Put this at the top of the file. USignal is not imported yet, so I'm going to do the quick fix and import it. You can see it just went up there. So time pinned, we're going to go down to where it was used. Time pinned, it's a date where you need to get the value, and that's where the date is. And then we're going to do .to locale string. So if I save this, we're going to get the value from the signal, actually, not from the custom input prop. So if I go to builder, that's better. So it's the date and then comma AM PM of the time, which is perfect. It was created. So you can see this is the problem right here. That's not the time on my end. That's the time on builders or my servers where this is being used, which is being used on CloudFront, by the way. So let's go back to the training. Next, we're going to use the use task hook. So what this does, it goes right here. What this is doing, we need to import it. So we'll do the quick fix to import it. You can see it just landed up there. We're tracking time pinned. So whenever this value changes, we're going to re-render this entire link card component. That's what that does. The next hook we're going to get is the browser hook. We need to import this as well. And we're missing the $sign. That one doesn't quick fix as well, so I'll have to manually add that. All right, so this is just the format. That's the template. This right here is the template of calling code on the client side for a quick component. It's the $sign and then a parentheses, and then inside is an anonymous function. Okay, we're checking if props.timePinned exists, which is the custom input, and then we're going to set the value to the new date of props.timePinned. All that's really doing is we're setting this value, which was rendered on the server. We're telling it when this component loads in the browser, do it again. But now that we're on the client, we should get the actual time zone of the user, and that should re-render the whole component. So I'm going to save that. We're going to go here, and you can see that just changed to 12 a.m., which is exactly times are in your local time, which is how Builder gets it to work, just like that. So that's one of the harder parts, and that's done. Next, we need to tweak the CSS styles. So if I go to the component here, we can kind of see that there's this underline when you look at it. So to get that fixed, I have already the example here, text decoration none. I'll show you how to spot this stuff. So if we go to Builder, we're going to press the eyeball on the top right and do View Current Draft. It'll open up a new tab. We're going to go to our browser, we're going to do More Tools and do the Developer Tools. What this does is we can now press this button right here to inspect everything, and we can see here that if there's anything wrong with what we're looking at, doesn't match the design, we want to do that and see what's going on. Here I don't see anything, so what I'm just going to do is I'm going to filter for text decoration. And we can see that somehow this is where it's coming from. You could search your code base to see why it's doing that. Ultimately, though, we could see that it's a part of link. We're not sure why that's happening. So if I now search for text decoration line, or actually we can just edit this, and we can see all the options. None is what we want. And we can see that when I click away, that gets rid of it. So I'm going to copy this style. We're going to go back to our VS Code. We're going to go to the styles constant at the bottom. At the top of the link class style, we're just going to replicate that exact same thing. So that's the first tweak. The next tweak, use Figma to inspect the SVG code. So the code is working pretty well, I believe, the SVG code specifically. Because if I say no image, that looks good. Locked, yes, looks good. Pinned, no. locked, no. Image, yes. Yeah. Everything looks fine with the SVGs, so I'm going to leave it. Remove width from text styles. So I'm just going to review to see, is there a width? Link image. Favicon has a width. Pinned, which is fine. More icon. Image. Any wrapper that's used for a text that has a width we want to get rid of. Everything was for images, so we're good. Fix font family styles. So let's go back down here. An example of font family styles is here, DM Sans regular. That's actually not the way it's done. And I'll show you how to do this, how to know for sure. This is actually what it should look like. D, capital M, lowercase, space, sans. You could confirm that by going to Figma, getting out of AutoHTML, going to the Inspect tab, and then we want to go to a specific style here, and we can see there's the example. So I clicked the link there, capital D, capital M, sans. So that's how we know that's how to spell it. So let's just fix everything. Convert colors to HSLA. This is how we do it for our styling. We have a hue theming system. So how we're going to do that, I have this link here. It goes to this color code converter. And what we're going to do is search for two specific things, RGBA. So this is RGBA. We have two of those. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go here. We're going to paste that. We're going to go to the HSL section. We're going to copy. And we're going to paste. Anything that's 0 doesn't need to have a variable. That's how our hue theming system works. All right, let's just check the next RGBA. Copy that. Go here, paste, copy the HSL. Paste this. And how we have this set up in our end is we have a CSS variable called hue slider. And you can see how we set it up, which is right in this hue custom code component from Builder, which is right here. And there's the variable that we define right there. Okay, so those are all the RGBAs. Next, if we do hashtag, we should be able to get all of the hex codes. So these two are not needed. And here we go, same process. All right, save that, go back to the training. We just changed all the colors with the variable, and if it's 0, not touching it. If design is using a fixed height, consider removing the height, tweaking the padding instead. I think we're good, scroll bar is good. Okay, I think we just completed this entire component. All right, we have the favicon, the image source, pinned, yes. That works nicely, locked, yes. That works nicely, locked, no. Yeah, guys, we are done. Pinned, no. We're done. Show subtitle. We are done the component, guys. That was super fast. We have a highly functional component directly from Figma. Follow those steps. You'll get this too. Hope you enjoyed the video. Good luck.